This is White Plains Week, the weekly roundup of White Plains, Westchester, and world news. With John Bailey, editor and publisher of the daily internet newspaper White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, WPCNR.com. Jim Benerofe, editor and publisher of SuburbanStreet.com and WhitePlains.com. And me, Peter Katz, formerly with NBC, ABC News, and stations from Boston to Los Angeles. White Plains Week, what's happening? Who are the newsmakers? What's in store for the future? The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76, Verizon Fios Channel 45, and on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. Now, White Plains Week.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. White Plains, Westchester, and the world. This is John Bailey, the Citizenette reporter, with Jim Benerofe of SuburbanStreet.com on my left, and the anchor for all seasons, Peter Katz. And this is time for headlines with Jim Benerofe.
And here are the headlines for the week of July 4th. Uber and Lyft ride-sharing companies are approved by Westchester County. The new Tappan Zee Bridge, named for former Governor Mario Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo's father. Sales taxes are extended by the New York Legislature through 2020 in special session of the New York Legislature. There is no movement or indication when White Plains will meet to vote on the new French-American School of New York construction. Getney Association says it's time for a decision. City approved settlement in the death of White Plains High School graduate Yeshina Garcia in 2014 in a fall at the Galleria in aftermath of an argument. Dr. Howard Smith leaves as acting superintendent of schools, and Dr. Joseph Recca begins next week. Fireworks are scheduled in White Plains tonight, Friday night, with no rain date scheduled, 6 to 10 p.m. at the high school. We will have another edition of Trump the President with Peter Katz. Michael Bond, the creator of the beloved Paddington the Bear books, passes away. Wind turbines go live on Block Island, saving the islanders 30% on electricity. On July 2nd, we remember when Amelia Earhart, the greatest woman aviator of them all, disappeared in the South Pacific on her round-the-world flight in 1937.
Thank you, Jim. And now we go to the White Plains Week Rollo Newsreel March of Time. And they're here, Uber, Lyft, and what have you. The ride-sharing companies were approved by Westchester County this week. Peter Katz has the story.
The announcement that the county had reached an agreement which would allow Uber, Lyft, and other ride-sharing services to operate in the county was made at a news conference in White Plains on Tuesday, June 27. We understand that the negotiations which culminated in the deal only ended a couple of hours before the announcement was made. The County Board of Legislators had scheduled a public hearing for Wednesday morning to be followed by a vote on legislation which would have banned ride-sharing services. The vote was canceled because of the deal. The county had the right to opt out from the state law, allowing ride-sharing services to operate anywhere in New York State. The law gives counties or municipalities having a population greater than 100,000 the option to block the ride-sharing services from operating in their territories.
On Thursday, New York State's new ride-sharing regulations go into effect. And like a lot of things that come out of Albany, they're based on good intentions, but they sometimes fail to account for the realities of the real world or the unintended consequences. And of course, we fell into that. So ride-sharing itself is one of the greatest inventions of our modern time. We think it's wonderful. I mean, it's a reliable, it is an opportunity for people to have safe transportation options, which is always good in the market. Now, the specific flaw in the law is that drivers for Uber or Lyft or Carmel or any of these kind of companies and other ride-sharing companies in New York City have to be fingerprinted to operate their vehicles. But that safeguard under state law is not required anywhere in New York State outside of New York City. Now, we've been working with Uber and Lyft over the last several weeks and, of course, quite frequently over the last couple of days. And we have developed a plan that will enable Westchester residents to know whether their ride-sharing driver's background does include a fingerprint check. Now, it is a voluntary program, and I'll walk you through it. The program is called Thumbs Up, and participating drivers can volunteer to have their fingerprint on record with our law enforcement, and if it shows no criminal record, then clearly they will be passing that test. They will have the highest standard, and we will issue a decal that will go on their car, basically giving the thumbs up that they have been fingerprinted. And so if you call Lyft or Uber or anybody else, when that car shows up, you can make your own decision whether you want to get in it or not, just as you can do today. And so it is a first of its kind in the nation. It is something that we believe will hopefully catch on. We also hope that this will spark a conversation around the state and ultimately will lead to the state amending the law again that would permit and require fingerprinting across the state.
We are really excited to be operating in Westchester County as of Thursday at 12:01 a.m. We look forward to providing affordable, reliable transportation options, and we feel this is a good compromise that balances the needs of the legislature and the county executive with the requirements of the state law. And we do look forward in continuing dialogue and conversations with the county on how we can best improve transportation options to make sure that all county residents have access to reliable, affordable transportation. Thank you.
Similar to Uber, we are really excited to bring the benefits of ride sharing to the county on Thursday at 12:01 as well, a.m. And we look forward to continue the dialogue. I think what was very important over the last few weeks was that we had an open line of communication between us, the state legislature, and the county board. So we look forward to that over the next coming months. Thank you.
The choice of opting out of the state's program remains available to all of us, and I will not hesitate to request and initiate an opt-out vote if Uber and Lyft do not work with us to further ensure the safety and security of riders in Westchester County. And the legislature will continue to hold out the option to opt out at a later date if Uber and Lyft at any time do not operate in good faith or fail to make public safety their priority. We are watching. We are looking to work forward with our Suffolk, our Nassau, and our Yonkers colleagues. June 29, the experiment begins. We hope it's a good one, and we look forward to a situation being as best as possible, but we will not ever, ever abrogate our responsibility to work to guarantee public safety here in Westchester County.
And John, you noticed that Uber had already started trying to recruit drivers and customers, more importantly.
Well, absolutely. And in fact, they put on a media full court press. They put ads on the News 12 website. They put ads on Low HUD, next slide. And they also had very professional, hard-hitting radio spots on VOX, I heard, and I think 880.
Yeah,
CBS
actually, I
radio.
heard something on WCBS promoting this.
These were really hard-hitting. They commenced in the middle of last week, and it was surprising that the county came around. Apparently, they must have gotten lots of phone calls to the 9th floor about that.
And Jim, do you have any particular reaction to allowing this new competition against the standard taxi companies to come in, especially here in White Plains?
I mean, I'm an old guy, so I like standard taxi companies, but I think it'll work out all right. I don't.
Well, the taxis have to
I
get
would
with
like
the
to
times.
see.
Yeah.
I would like to see fingerprinting required. Why it's required in New York and not anyplace else simply doesn't make any sense.
You know, the funny thing is that the transportation really seemed to loom this week, especially when we were looking for a shocker of the week.
Right, exactly. And that shocker was that if we can have the shot of the Tappan Zee Bridge there, it's going to be named the Mario Cuomo Bridge.
Now,
And
from my standpoint, I was not shocked that Mario Cuomo would be honored. What I found somewhat shocking was the process that was used. It really was a surprise announcement from Albany that this was being
He called
done.
them back to Albany for a special session to do this.
We're talking about Governor
Yes.
Andrew Cuomo.
Yes, right. And they also passed the sales taxes for all the counties in New York State. in
Right,
this special
which of
session.
course municipalities were really holding their breath on.
Counties
to be
really
sure-
nervous
to
about
be
that.
sure that happened. But in terms of the process, one would think, with such a major project, and when you're coming up with a name for the bridge, who are you going to honor here? You might have a public process, and it might have some deliberation over a period of time. No, I mean, I can think of maybe a half dozen different contenders to have a bridge named
Yes.
in their honor.
And
I mean, the Benerofe Bridge.
the Benerofe Bridge, definitely. You occasionally cross the Tappan Zee Bridge, but I mean,
and again, nothing against Mario Cuomo. I mean, I think his record, was certainly remarkable as a
well,
governor
he's
goes.
basically a humanist governor. He really fought for people's rights and made things better. He also enacted the first seatbelt law in the nation for New York State, one of his tremendous achievements, and improved roads, and he also appointed the first African-American judge to the Court of Appeals and the first black judge. And
Politically, I think he could have ended up as president. I mean, if you remember way back, there was a time when he was within an airplane ride of quickly going to New Hampshire to file for the New Hampshire
yes, but
primary.
the budget wasn't passed.
At the
New York
last
State budget wasn't
minute, he
passed.
decided not to do it, not to actually start
That was what
his
he said.
campaign for the presidency.
His allegiance was to New York State. So
But now his son, being governor,
Yes.
now also has transportation very much on his mind. In fact, yesterday, which we're recording this on Friday, yesterday was Thursday, June 29th, Governor Cuomo spoke at what's called the Transit Genius Competition. That's where transit experts from all over the world gathered in Manhattan at the City College of New York's Great Hall. Now, Cuomo announced that $1 billion would be spent on improvements to the New York City subway system. And although he emphasized the importance of Metro North serving suburban cities, we know it's important to White Plains, which actually is in the beginning stage of redevelopment in the area around the Metro North train station. Cuomo did not make any new promises about capital expenditures to improve or expand Metro North.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. The importance of the MTA, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, cannot be overstated. It is the system that undergirds the entire economy of the state of New York. It is the circulatory system to our state. It is what the arteries and veins are to the human body. For those who are unfamiliar with it, the MTA serves the New York City's 5 boroughs and the 7 surrounding suburban communities. Metro North, the nation's 3rd largest passenger railroad, serves commuters from the northern suburbs, Westchester, Rockland, Orange, Putnam, and Dutchess counties. Roughly 305,000 people travel Metro North's 775 miles into the Grand Central Terminal. The largest infrastructure program in the United States of America, right here, $100 billion. New airport in Rochester and Syracuse and Plattsburgh and Elmira. First brand new airport in the nation in 25 years at LaGuardia Airport. Largest infrastructure project in the United States of America. Tappan Zee Bridge, $5 billion being built right now. New train hall at Farley, $1.6 billion. Closed last week and now underway. We are building a new New York.
But the importance of all this stuff made very clear by Governor Cuomo in that speech, but no pledge for money that would affect us right here, Metro North riders.
Right. Well, that maybe tomorrow. You know, he does these giveaways every day. It's sort of like a quiz show. He does, really. He gives millions away every day to certain projects. Now, locally, there's still puzzlement as to when the French-American School of New York construction over on Ridgeway Avenue, when they're going to decide on that. And in fact, I talked to John Sheehan of the Getty Association this week, and he's puzzled too. He feels the citizens need to know. Now, this is a change.
We kind of thought that they would put it to a vote right after, at the first meeting right after the 4th of July.
Well, there's still time to do that. You know, there was a little 11th hour special meeting.
See, if they had done that, John, not only could we have fireworks at the high school, but we could have fireworks at City Hall.
Yes, and there haven't been too many of them lately. Now, the city settled a civil suit on the behalf of the Yesenia Garcia family. Yesenia Garcia was a young lady, graduate of White Plains High School in 2007, and
it was a tragic death
at the Galleria. Yeah, in the city garage. She fell, hit her head on a staircase, and passed away, sadly. And they settled that suit. We don't know the details, but we will find out.
But it's nice to know that there is closure on that episode.
She was a great kid. She was one of my reporters on the old Church Street Challenger. It was really great.
And Dr. Smith is leaving.
That's
we
right.
have the new school superintendent coming in.
And we interviewed Dr. Smith on People to Be Heard this week. He has a lot of really candid things to say about the school district going forward. Very
and as
popular.
always, you can see People to Be Heard on many of these same stations. That's a great phrase. I love that. Many of these same stations, or on the internet whenever you wish at whiteplainsweek.com, at youtube.com, or whiteplainswpcommunitymedia.org.
And tonight, Friday night, there are fireworks in the city. There's a shot of 2013 of the throng
Usually
at the high
they get
school.
about 10,000 people over at the high school for the fireworks.
But there's no rain date, so
let's hope it doesn't rain.
Right, and now it is time, without further ado, to the episode that millions of Americans watch every week. Trump the President. Here's Peter Katz.
Okay, now this may be the bombshell. A report in the Wall Street Journal, and the Journal is owned by conservative Rupert Murdoch, says that Mike Flynn, the former advisor to President Trump, who also was one of his top campaign officials, acted as an intermediary between the Russians working to interfere with the election and a Republican Party operative during the Trump campaign. Flynn, as we know, had sought immunity from prosecution before testifying before Congress, right? Remember they asked for that? This may be what he needed immunity from. We don't know, but it's a Wall Street Journal report. It's traditionally a conservative newspaper owned by Rupert Murdoch. Now, the Journal report says that they have confirmed this with 5 sources, and they have talked to one of the principals involved in this situation. This might explain, if the report is true, why President Trump has been protective of Flynn and even trying to shut down the FBI investigation into Flynn. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson berated Johnny DeStefano, the White House personnel director, in a meeting on Friday, according to Politico. Tillerson is reported to have exploded because the White House has been torpedoing proposed nominees to senior State Department positions, and they have questioned Tillerson's judgment. Tillerson wanted to bring in his own people to the State Department and openly differed with White House policies pushed by advisor Steve Bannon. Even President Trump has publicly taken positions opposite to those taken by Tillerson. Only about 10% of the top-level positions at the State Department have been filled, and more than 100 ambassadors to foreign countries still have not even been appointed. White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, son-in-law Jared Kushner, and Tillerson's chief of staff are said to have been there and saw this unfolding. Top Republican lawmakers on Thursday denounced President Trump's Twitter attack on the co-host of MSNBC's Morning Joe program, Mika Brzezinski. Republicans, including House Speaker Paul Ryan condemned Trump for what he had done. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina said, quote, "Mr. President, your tweet was beneath the office and represents what is wrong with American politics, not the greatness of America." Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska tweeted, quote, "Please just stop. This isn't normal, and it's beneath the dignity of your office." Senator Susan Collins of Maine said, "This has to stop. We must show respect and civility." Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma said, "National and local leaders, including our president, should model civility, honor, and respect in our political rhetoric." Representative Lynn Jenkins of Kansas said Trump's tweet was not okay. Quote, "We should be working to empower women." And Jeb Bush, remember Jeb Bush, said, quote, "Inappropriate, undignified, unpresidential." That was Jeb Bush. White House Deputy Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the Deputy Press Secretary, went on TV, Fox News of course, and defended Trump's tweet. A vote on Trump Care has been postponed by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell until sometime after the July 4th recess because he doesn't have the votes to pass it. Parts of Trump's travel ban kicked in yesterday. The Supreme Court said a couple of elements were okay, but it refused to allow most of it and will review the travel ban situation in October. Former Westchester District Attorney Jeanine Pirro, now a Fox News host, was on Fox and Friends this morning blasting former Bush administration Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice for doing what Jeanine Pirro said were the same things that Hillary Clinton did in the normal course of business at the State Department.
Boy, Jeanine Pirro, is she going to be the next Trump hire? Never can tell. Okay, now more serious notes. Well, that is serious, but a serious note. We lost
it's
the
as serious as you can
yes,
get, especially
right.
if that Wall Street Journal story turns out to be accurate.
Well, somebody has to file a suit.
I mean, that, not only is that the smoking gun, that's the fire, that's the bombshell going off.
Right. Anyway, the creator of Paddington Bear died, and this week, and his name was Ned Bond, and he created Paddington the Bear because he gave a Christmas gift to his wife, and the bear was so cute.
It was a toy bear, a stuffed bear, which he got at Paddington Station, which is a famous British railroad station.
Right, but those are great books, and they have influenced a lot of children all over the world and printed in many languages. And also, this is the anniversary, or not the anniversary, the observance of a day back July 2nd, 1937.
You know, it's hard to believe how quickly time flies.
80 years.
Roaring into the Oakland airport, she brings to a triumphant finish her 2,400-mile hop from Hawaii after 18 hours in the air. 10,000 cheer the end of the epical flight as the Lady Lindy slides into a perfect landing with 2 records. The first woman to fly the Pacific and the first person to fly it solo. She receives one of the most tumultuous greetings ever accorded a flyer. Roses to Amelia and the plaudits of the world to a veteran of flights that have shown the way for aviation's progress. It's her most brilliant chapter in a 16-year aviation career. How does it feel to fly both oceans, Miss Earhart?
Well, it was very interesting to me to fly in southern waters rather than in the north. On the Atlantic flight, I had ice conditions and general storm. On this flight, really no bad weather at all except a few little rain squalls. I saw the moon and stars most of the night. Of course, in both flights, I was very glad to see land.
The world's most famous aviatrix was missing over the Pacific. Amelia Earhart, on a globe-girdling flight with navigator Fred Noonan, took off for a hop over trackless ocean wastes and was never heard from again. On the chance that she might be safe on then some remote island, an intensive air-sea search got underway immediately, but not even wreckage was ever found. Many and varied have been the theories on the disappearance, such as the possibility she wandered to the island of Truk, then being secretly fortified by the Japanese, and was executed to keep those plans secret. The world has wondered.
Now that, of course, was actual newsreel footage. That was shown in movie theaters throughout the country. The first part there was January 11th, 1935. That's when Earhart became the first aviator to fly solo from Honolulu, Hawaii to Oakland, California. And then the second clip, also from Universal Newsreel, was after her disappearance, 80 years ago, July 2nd, 1937, when the search began. And to this day, they really haven't found what happened to Amelia Earhart. There have been some pieces of airplane wreckage found on the remote islands in the Pacific, and it's thought that one of those pieces did match up with her Lockheed Electra. In terms of human remains, at this point, nothing. No sign of her, no sign of Fred Noonan, the aviator.
But a person that still inspires women and men today.
Well,
She is
not
an icon.
only does she inspire in terms of memory, but she helped found an organization called the 99s, which is female aviators. It promotes females in aviation. And that organization today is still very much active.
6,000 members, women pilots. Right.
Actually, speaking of pilots, we took a trip to Block Island about a week ago, and we learned something of interest to anyone who uses electricity. The windmill generation facility offshore, and you can see the windmills, those white vertical lines in the photograph there. They have started operating. They are providing Block Island with electricity, which up until this point had been provided via underwater cable from the mainland, and they have resulted in a dramatic reduction in the cost of electricity to consumers on Block Island.
Over just in the few months of operation.
Right. We were told about 30% right off the bat.
And stores have lowered their prices because they now don't have to pay the extra electric charges.
Don't
as
have
much
the
as
overhead.
$500, you know, for the store prices.
So we can see that alternative sources of energy do become practical after a while.
And Governor Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo, wants to build a lot of these wind turbines off Long Island. And that is going to be a battle, but it could really work based on the Block Island experience. They love it out there.
Speaking of work, we had some guest workers today here at the studio. I don't know if they're members of the technicians union or not, but based on what they've done, they certainly would qualify.
Yes, Jody Kennedy of White Plains the White Plains school system.
She's the teacher.
Yes,
and
right.
supervising
Has
this
brought in
television
Alan,
production program.
Ashley, Rachel, and Zachary, who worked the cameras today, and they did a great job. I was watching, and it's really professional.
And they have a television production program over at the school called React News, and you can see their work product posted on the White Plains Library website.
Right, so check it out, and thank you very much for visiting.
And we're over time. Good night.
Good night.
This has been White Plains Week, news and commentary about White Plains, Westchester, and the world. The views and opinions expressed on this program were solely those of the participants. White Plains Week, produced by White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, and presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76 and Verizon Fios Channel 45. You may view White Plains Week anytime on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. For White Plains Week, this is Peter Katz speaking.